Good afternoon. Welcome back to Carablux. And as promised, after a bit of technical difficulties, can't even get that out of my mouth, where it's been such a trying and challenging afternoon, we finally decided to go ahead and do it where we're taping it, right, guys? So I do apologize for any sort of disappointments. This afternoon, we're going to tackle the much needed discussion of systematic racism, not only here in the United States, but equally too overseas. And with me, I have a really great reference point and an excellent friend of mine, Amita. And I'll turn it over to her to introduce herself. Here you are, Amita.
Hello, my name is Amita. I've been studying systematic racism in the Western world for, I'm going to say, about 2 decades now, and I can't wait to get the discussion started.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Amita. So I'm going to sort of give you guys the overview of what we're going to be discussing. The first question is, what is systematic racism? Have a think about it. So whilst you think, and you'll hear the little birds in the background, something like that, I'll give you the definition. Systematic racism is discrimination or unequal treatment on the basis of a particular ethnic group. Mostly minority and marginalized individuals is what it really is. Arising from systems as structures or expectations that have been put and established within a society. So in general, in layman terms, it's really discriminating against a sort of marginalized sort of ethnic group that is in a country, and the majority of persons, usually of Caucasian background, is sort of dominating the entire scene and not giving the respect and the opportunity to the ethnic group that is being sort of discriminated against. So with that on the side, we can sort of put that on the side, and now we know, right, Amita, what it's all about.
Yeah.
I'm going to just sort of give you a little overview, guys, as to what is really happening right now in the United States. What is the current temperature, the current pulse, what's going on? Today, throughout the U.S., millions of people are taking part in what is called No Kings a Day protest. Millions of people. The aim of this entire protest is against the Trump administration's autocratic policies, ICE operations that are not stellar, as well as censorship of people in this country, including the media. Can you imagine? The very people that are actually reporting the pulse, what's going on, is being censored, and they cannot do their job properly. You know, just this morning I was watching persons such as Don Lemon, Joy Reid, to name a few, Jim Acosta. They all sort of came together with a triage of reports on one platform, and they were literally shouting out what was going on, as well as the current pulse, and they're upset about what's the whole situation. So with that said, America is now spiraled, and I emphasize that, into a quasi-autocratic state. It's shocking, it's very disturbing, and it's very, what would you say, Amita?
I actually think it's a resurgence back to the pre-civil rights era.
Correct.
Right. I think that's where we are right now, and I feel like people should be taking the opportunity now to learn what America truly was like pre-civil rights.
Correct.
Because if they did, they'll know why we are where we are right now.
Excellent. I totally concur. I mean, it's really shocking. So the organizers of the No Kings protests have actually said today that the protests are the largest thus far in, guess whose era? Trump's era, right? And I say that yet again, I'm always unaffectionately referring to that guy. So, you know, I was reporting yet last week, guys, of what's really going on with the ICE raids. It's horrible. ICE is conducting widespread arrests in schools. Can you imagine? They're dragging children out of schools, which is just horrible, deplorable behavior, as well as at immigration court. I will share in this video a clip of a lady that went and actually, and I think you might have seen that, right, Amita?
I posted about it, yes.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge news. Where she actually accompanied one of her family members, and what happened was he was tricked to come down to get his papers, and he was apprehended. And she went on really vulgar, yes, she did, but justifiably so. It was, just totally wrong. So let's have a look at what she had to say that was not so fabulous.
You put in jail for that.
For what?
What's going on here?
I didn't touch you.
What's going on? What are you guys doing?
Somebody please make sure.
Yes, he do. She just told him he gotta come back to court.
What's wrong with you guys?
Let me just get a paperwork. We're just trying to confirm.
So back up, at least give him space. You could do what you do, but just give him space.
We're
too.
trying to talk to him, but you guys don't.
I can't.
No, I don't know what you want. Yeah, that one works.
What are you guys doing? What's wrong with you guys?
That is working, man. All right, sir. So don't be detained by immigration.
Why? Tell him why.
I can't get ready to go.
You gotta go check that first. Check if everything comes out good. And we'll call you back, all right? First, you like it, like on petrol. Now go check it out.
Bitch, you stupid bitch. That's why y'all a bunch of fucking criminals. I wish you would. I wish the fuck you would. Yes, the fuck we his family. Y'all a bunch of big
calm
pussies.
down, bro.
Don't tell me to calm the fuck
Calm
down.
down.
Who the fuck is you? We don't like none of you.
You okay?
No, how can I be okay? You okay? Are you okay?
Are you okay?
I look like I'm okay? Don't come up in my face here because I hit hard. Fuck wrong with y'all.
Try it.
I wish you would.
Try it.
You try me and see what the fuck happened. Nigga, we angry. All of us angry out here. So don't think it's y'all alone.
Get out of here.
You who you telling get out of here? Why you telling me get out of here? You asked me a question and I'm answering you.
Get out of here. Man.
Fuck wrong with you? Oh, stupid ass bitch. That's why you gotta hide your face.
You wanna go to jail?
You told me my mother can tell you anything.
You wanna go to
Fuck
jail?
wrong with you? You wanna hit me? Hit me, bitch. You ain't got me. Nobody's scared of you. You're a pussy ass. Come. I got rings on, bitch. So me and you gonna fight. You a pussy bitch. You a pussy bitch. That's why your kids them don't like you and your wife is fucking on you. That's why you gotta hide your face. My face ain't hidden, bitch. I'm American, you stupid bitch. Fuck wrong with y'all. You can take me too high. I'm Charlotte the Zodiac first. You know what to do? Tell them, no. You want me? Fuck wrong with y'all. Fuck all of you. Put that on the news. Let Trump see it.
So I just wanted to touch on something really quickly about what we're seeing in immigration court, the federal courts at the moment. I've been listening to NPR, National Public Radio, and they've done a whole series on immigration judges all across the United States. And what they found out is the Trump administration have been firing immigration judges, especially the ones that were actually immigration lawyers that know the system very well, because you don't actually have to have a background in immigration law to become an immigration judge. But the ones that were actually immigration lawyers have more in-depth knowledge. And I guess they tended to use a whole lot more discretion in the cases. So for a lot of them were kind of ruling against the government or postponing cases. So what the administration had figured out, they didn't like that they were losing their cases. So the Department of DOJ had a whole list of lawyers that they wanted to fire. Judges that they wanted to fire. Some were actually fired on the bench as they were adjudicating cases. So it turns out the Department of DOJ sent out a memo softly instructing judges to dismiss cases, because when you dismiss the case, it means now that migrant or the petitioner no longer has a legal reason to be in the country. That's why you're seeing more ICE agents and bounty hunters in the hallways of the federal courts. And that's why you saw them in that clip
With the lady. Right. guys, now we're actually hearing the backstory as to where all of this began. We literally need to sort of look back at the history. And history is very rich. And unfortunately for the black race, and you know my stance on the entire thing, I literally do not sort of believe in, validate anything about the fact that there is a true white race. Theodore Allen, I always love telling you about that, yeah? The invention of the white race. But we're not going to get into that just yet today. We're going to look back at where all of this sort of discrimination commenced, and that was with one unfortunate word, slavery. Now, slavery started roughly about in the 1600s and really got, sort of entrenched into the United States as well as the Caribbean and parts of Europe, really into the 18th century. Now, we're not going to go into the gory details because Carablux does not like to delve in the unsavory, unpleasant aspects of it. That's a whole nother topic on our sister channel, which is CNN, which is the Caribbean News Network. We'll go into all of that aspects of things. But specifically, slavery set the stage where the socioeconomic terminology that was indoctrinated in the early 1700s sort of got a really deep sort of embedded footprint into the psyche of the slaves that were captured in Africa, then transported through the Caribbean into the United States. Around about 3% of the overall slaves that were actually taken, kidnapped during that transatlantic slave trade ended up in America. Okay. And with that, there was establishment of a really uneven sort of scale system where the Europeans, they were superior to the Africans that were kidnapped, because in reality, that's what it was.
And the indigenous Native Americans.
Absolutely. And from there, it was just a downward spiral, okay? And I don't have to sort of remind you all the atrocities that were committed during that time period. It was dark, it was horrible, it was just a gruesome time. I mean, I recently visited the Whitney Plantation down in Louisiana, which is the only plantation that really pays homage to the actual enslaved. And it's beautifully done, but when you're there, you get a profound sense of gut-wrenching grief, sadness, and it's just a thick air that permeates every facet of that plantation. I'm sure that at night it's extremely haunted with all of the sort of energy impressions that's left there. But, as I said, that's the only one that literally tells a little bit of the story of the atrocities that actually went on during that time. Now, I'll move on. As I said, I don't want to get into that. Amita and I could go on forever and ever on slavery, but I think everybody at this junction knows the story. One of the mythologies that people really don't know about, and that is a term that is called buck breaking. Now, what is it? It's an unfortunate situation, and I'll sort of say it in a very PG fashion, where the most burly, most handsome, most gorgeous 6 foot and above males that were built like black Greek Adonises, so to speak, or African, kings, were targeted by the slave masters. When they were dissident and they did not want to comply, they literally made an example of them in front of their children, their wives, that sort of thing. And literally it was rape. They raped them in front of the entire slave sort of community in each plantation to send a resounding message of do not defy us, comply, and bend to our will. Otherwise, this is what will happen to you. So it was a gruesome thing, needless to say. Now, coming back into more of modern times, we have little sub pockets within our own sort of communities. And that is one, and it's horrible, it's called colorism. And there's another one that I'm not really going to get into much today, that is classism. Colorism, this is prevalent throughout the Caribbean and African and Caribbean diaspora, where, somebody my complexion has the privilege, somebody that is Amita's complexion does not have the privilege. And then anything, as was established, the sort of mentality of if you're darker than a paper bag, then you're persona non grata. If you're lighter than that, then everything is nice for you. And if you're my complexion or higher, lighter actually, then you get everything in the world. This too is a wrong sort of situation. And it still exists today, unfortunately. So, as I said, in order to know who you are and where you come from, you really, really, guys, have to know your history. The question mark that I used to ask forever and a day was, why are blacks discriminated against? And I pondered that for years until I got the answer by way of a friend's thesis for college. And the reason is quite simple. It's because of the history of the Moors. Literally, it's that. You might say, I've never heard of the Moors. The Moors was a superpower army that ruled most of Europe for over 700 years. In essence, the reason we're facing all of this karma, if you want to say that, is for payback for the atrocities that the Moors did. That could be potentially one of the reasons. Amita, what's your sort of take on that?
Oh, okay, so I have the same conclusion, simply because I've been studying this for a few decades. So when you look at the timeline, the Iberian, the first colonizers of the New World were the Iberian Peninsula, which is now Spain and Portugal. Their venture out into the New World comes almost immediately after the fall of Moorish rule in the Iberian Peninsula. So late 1400s, right, is when they began to venture out into the New World. And then the Spanish and the Portuguese started bringing African slaves into the New World from, I think, the early 1500s. So they were the first ones. They did it for about 200 years before the English came into the system. And even when the English came into the system, they still managed to do 40% of the trade, even though they started 200 years afterwards. But to go back to what you were saying about the Moors, yes, I truly believe, I came to this conclusion too a very long time ago. I truly believe chattel slavery and just the brutality of what we saw that came out of Europe towards Africans and bringing them into the New World, to me, I felt was as a direct response. Payback.
Yeah. I really do believe that. Now, let's talk about, Amita, the other sort of bull in the room, which is racism in the workplace.
Yes.
When blacks elevate to senior levels in the corporate world, we face lots of racism.
Yep.
And if we don't acquiesce to the rubbish, the autocratic sort of mentality of the European indoctrinated systems, and I will sort of put a demarcation here that I am in no way or shape or form racist, okay? I have white family, I have black family, obviously I'm somewhere in between, and I love them all. But the reality, the truth is the truth, right? If we don't acquiesce to the system, we're either canceled or muted, like Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah.
He's a prime example of
Right.
it. And there was another recent guy as well that happened to, oh gosh, sort of slips my mind.
Yeah. I can't think of it either.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know who you're
Yeah.
talking about. Yes.
This ranges from the media straight on to sports. I can give you a million sort of, and I won't get into that right now, a million sort of examples of this discrimination that I face, and I'm sure you faced it as
course,
well.
yes.
When you get to a certain sort of professional echelon, if you don't comply, if you don't fit the mold of what they think is the norm, right? You're sort of put in a box, you're given passive aggressive racism, which we're about to get into that as well. It is a challenge out here, guys, if you're not if you don't appear as Caucasian, right? You have problems. Steadily moving on, the other one is sellouts. So, Amita, you want to take it from there? You can lead in with that one, as you are the queen. Oh, she loves pop culture, guys. So, go ahead.
Well, sellouts. Do you want to?
Yeah,
All right. Sellouts. The selling of one's race is prevalent in every industry. The latest is Stephen A. Smith, who landed a $100 million deal and is now flinging his fellow blacks under the bus. And Stephen is great for that.
Right. So let's just stick with him for a little
Yeah.
bit. I watched him the other night, guys, and he was always sort of sitting on the fence and not really here, near, dear, or anywhere. Guess what? After that $100 million deal, he is vehemently, overtly, obviously throwing, not even throwing, guys, flinging. Yeah, that's what we say in the Caribbean. Flinging his counterparts under the bus to suit the sort of clauses of his contract.
Yes.
Okay? Other persons in the past that we've actually seen this with is whom?
Kanye and Candace Owens.
Oh, Lord. Must we discuss them?
I want to touch quickly on these two for specific reasons. So a lot of people also don't know the United States is the blueprint for Nazi Germany and apartheid South Africa, meaning Jim Crow, the Jim Crow South was the blueprint. So Jim Crow South basically started immediately after the Civil War. So the Civil War was ended in 1865. 1870 is when black men were given the right to vote. And then Southerners, white Southerners, spent about almost 100 years restricting blacks in the South to almost slavery conditions, but not quite, because slavery is now illegal. Right?
With servitude.
Servitude. So what people don't know is the Nazis actually came to the United States to study the United States racialized laws, not just the Jim Crow, but also how white American treated indigenous Native Americans.
Right.
Created, they studied several different places, but they modeled it after the United States Jim Crow South. And then you can just see the timeline from when they came here. I think they came initially in 1934, right? And then, they modeled Nazi Germany after the United States. And then apartheid South Africa was also modeled after the United States, after the Jim Crow South. So with me, when I think about Candace and Kanye openly calls himself a Nazi.
Yes.
And has done so for quite a while.
Yes.
Candace has openly said that Hitler wasn't that bad. He was trying to do good things for Germany, right? So it's the way that they align with white supremacy.
That makes them dangerous.
That makes them incredibly dangerous. And a lot of people also don't know that Candace Owens was really aligned with the CK character that is now the martyr. I don't want to say his full name.
Right.
Right.
Yes, they were best friends.
Yeah, and
she loved him.
She loved him, but he also hired her as director for Urban, the Reach Out.
Oh, interesting.
So she was hired directly by him to reach out to black people.
Gotcha.
And that's when she partnered up with Kanye.
Gotcha.
Now you have to keep in mind they're doing the whole Christian nationalist
thing.
That whole thing,
stopped.
and a whole lot of that is also rooted in white supremacy. The more you read upon it, you don't even have to just read. I mean, I follow a lot of former white nationalists, white Christian nationalists. Like literally, they're breaking it down. Like they grew up.
Oh yes.
In it. So
Joy Reid was actually talking about that today.
Yeah. So I follow quite a couple of them online because they're constantly trying to educate us, because they're warning us about what's about to happen if we don't fight against it now. Because they were born and bred into it, and they have since left the movement, and they're trying to educate the rest of us. They're just fewer in number in comparison to the ones that are directly in line. And then the other thing that a lot of people don't realize, that the United States now we basically put a lot of like neo-Confederates
Right.
and Nazi sympathizers to run the country.
Yes.
That's where we are at the current moment.
We are in, thank you for that, Amita. I mean, we're literally, guys, I try to be kind by saying quasi, but in reality, we're autocratic.
Yeah,
we are
we are.
fascist.
We are.
You look at, just to break a few things down, guys, how Trump has controlled the narrative with the government, with the media, with the indoctrination of how things should be done now.
Right.
Sort of dispersing the armed forces into certain cities, giving staunch sort of directives to every sort of level in government,
Right.
shutting down the government at his whim whenever he wants it.
Right.
So there's a lot of aspects, guys,
There's
that
one thing I want
there's,
to add about that, because people aren't connecting the dots. So I'm a big pop culture lover, right? I've been following American pop culture for a very long time because I've lived here for a very long time. About 35 years ago, Trump's first wife basically told us he kept a book of, the the German Mustard man's speeches on the nightstand, right? And then in that same article, about 35 years ago, I think one of the employees of the organization, of the Trump organization, said something along the lines. They used to casually greet each other with the Nazi, right?
Symbolism, yes.
Right. But then John Kerry, Trump's longest running chief of staff, told us before the election that Trump really admired Hitler and also admired the Nazi generals.
Yes.
So it's not like this is new information. It's just a lot of people just aren't connecting the dots to like, we're really dealing with Nazi sympathizers.
That's
like,
exactly.
they're
That's
not
exactly
really
what it is.
connecting. Right.
I mean, I think, Amita, they're connecting the dots sort of overtly. They don't want to face the hardcore truth,
Of
guys,
where we are.
of where we are. That's
where we are.
basically it.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on, guys, to our two last sort of segments here. What is passive-aggressive racism? That is when racism is done in a seemingly harmless way, sort of undercover. Like to say, and I'll say this for a friend of mine that lives in Norway. He was actually telling me about his unfortunate experience with it. He said that he literally had somebody in Norway say to him, "Oh, well, you act like a monkey, but you really are not a monkey, are you?" Say that again.
Aggressive. I have a good one for passive
Go ahead.
aggressive, and because it kind of ties back to what you were saying about the workplace. So this is a personal experience of mine. My team is incredibly diverse. It's New York City. When I say diverse, incredibly diverse. White, Black, Asian, all of it. My team. There are a couple of people that don't do well, right? They happen to be unmelanated. And it turns out the melanated people do very well in my department, right? And my supervisor happens to be Black male. And his director is non-Black. And then the person above that person is Black. So the people who aren't doing great with us literally filed a complaint that us, the Blacks who are doing much better than them, we're getting recognized or we're being promoted because we're Black. But when the metrics come out, guess who's outperforming? I and another Black lady outperformed everybody else. But this lady has been complaining that the reason why we're doing so well is so Black. Not because we're hard workers. Everyone else can see that we're hard workers, right? But she created such a big problem that it went all the way up to HR.
Wow. So you see, guys, that's that's not even passive aggressive. That's just overt racism and discrimination, Amita. So, but passive aggressive, coming back into that, it's when it's done in a way that doesn't really sort of target you as an individual. It's sort of smooth. But if you have the intellect and to be able to decipher what they're saying, you'll really realize that they're being racist.
Right.
All right, so the last point where we're going to sort of have a chat before we say adieu, I mean, we've been chatting for quite a while now, is literally who've actually sort of experienced racism. I'll turn it over to you, Amita. What thus far have you been a victim of direct racism?
Oh, man.
And this actually spans, guys, from the United States, the Caribbean, right into Europe.
There's like so many like small incidents.
Give us one.
Well, I just gave you one.
Well, another one.
My cousins and I and my sister, we were in a car. We were just regular driving, and just this white guy, he was like really aggressive on the road. He jumped out of the car and came towards us.
I see. So there you are. So that's just one of many sort of statements of it. I mean, I was brought up predominantly in the Caribbean, guys, and I can happily say that I really did not have any sort of racism until the age of 17. And that was done in, and I'm talking about right in your face, not trying to be sort of coy about it, where the N-word was used. And I was sort of, I gasped because I had never ever heard that word, let alone been a victim of that sort of racist rant. And many, 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 many more sort of situations and times that I've actually encountered it passively, supposedly, sort of in passing, from your hair, your color, the way you speak. And that spanned from the United States right through to Europe. Now, with that said, I can happily say, and I sort of pause and is a little bit apprehensive to say it, that I have never had overt racism as an adult or even a child in the Caribbean. Okay. And that's because of the point that we were chatting about before, where it's colorism. Okay, it's classism. Unfortunately, I know a number of people throughout the Caribbean. As I said, if you're darker than a beautiful toffee color, you face a lot of racism. So, unfortunately, it's every facet, everywhere in life. And with that, guys, I can say thank you again for joining Amita and I. And we will come back again at another time for another episode of The Hard Cold Truth. Okay. Have a pleasant remainder. Bye-bye.